So what do you make then of the recent news from NASA that now comes up and talk about the invisible Death Star, the Nemesis as they call it, that they speculate is circling the sun and potentially also then is catapulting out comets and things like that. Are they on the ball here, or is there something else going on there? What do you make of that?
They've been on the ball about this since the Pioneer probes. Okay, This is something that the government has known for an awfully long time. And now it's just going to start, we're going to start equaling it out. When we look at Nemesis, and that was the name given to this other star that's in our system. And when you go back, for those that are as old as I am, have as much hair loss as I do, and they can remember in school, talking about Nemesis and the possibility we're in a binary system. It was a very exciting topic at the time. Carl Sagan, the Cosmos and Contact, that man, wonderful, fabulous teacher, taught us so much about it. He was the guy that, remember the golden radio discs players that they put on the probes, sent them out into space, Voyager?
The Voyager, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. And so that was something Sagan did. He made those messages.
And by the way, isn't it interesting that he put one Akkadian language on there as well, by the way?
Yeah. It was really, you go through, and I would love to be able to just buy a copy of what they put on that probe.
Yeah.
And, I guess we'll just have to reincarnate as aliens to figure that out. But getting back to cases, what is the case here is that this was well known. Now, there was a lot of talk about Nemesis back then. You have to go into libraries and you actually have to get physical copies because this predates the internet. But it's there. There's a lot of information. On our website, we have a fabulous collection of these older documents by Greg Jenner. And it's a free download, or they can page flip it and see these old documents. But the thing is that there was an astronomer by the name of Harrington, and he was the government's naval observatory in Washington. And he developed an entire theory for Planet X and where he could spot it. And what he did was Harrington went to New Zealand, and Harrington then, at a very specific time, very specific place, took his own telescope. It had an 8-inch telescope, as we recall, and he went to make observations of Planet X. And after he returned, he died a sudden, mysterious death of esophageal cancer. When we researched it, if you're going to have a cancer like that, you're not going to be physically in a shape to take a trip like that, or greatly impaired. But what was the real hallmark for us, the real indicator, was the obituary, which was written anonymously and went to great lengths to say he was deeply disappointed by his own failings in his inability to find his fabled Planet X. Here is a man of great achievement. Why attack his work in an obituary? With an anonymous obituary, nonetheless. That obituary was not only the last death cap for Harrington, it was the death cap for the topic. And since that day, it has been a third rail taboo. With the death of Harrington, it has been death taboo topic for anyone that has to elbow up to the government funding troughs in any way whatsoever.
I see.
Yeah. Now what we have is they're talking about the possibility of this, and they're raising things, they're bringing out the information. But what we're going to eventually see in the final analysis is we're going to see the proof of their suppression. But that's a story for another day.
It's a big story in itself. What I would like to do as well is I guess go to the year 2003 and basically get your take on that and what happened there. I was following it, on and off with curiosity. Didn't do too much, worrying, as it were, about that date or that year. But I basically the from various sources around the web and so forth, and we can talk about some of these sources. And was that basically Planet X was supposed to arrive in 2003, and to cut a long story short, that didn't happen. What's your take on all that, and what happened to that? If you do an analysis of that year for us, Marshall, what do you think? What do you make of all that?
Well, for us, it was a very painful year because we were saying from the get-go that 2003 would be a non-event. We didn't see anything that was consistent with it. And the reason why we're saying that is that, and people are saying, it's behind the sun, it's here, it's there. Look, when this thing comes in, the sun is going to go completely ape. All right. We're going to have, and we'll get into that a little bit later, what's coming down the pike. We didn't see any of that. What this really happened in 2003 was that Nancy Leader has the Zeta Talk website. Now, I love Nancy. I don't agree with a lot of her work, and there's things that are our work she doesn't agree with. And we respect each other as colleagues, and we continue doing what we do. There was a fellow by the name of Mark Hazelwood, one of her followers. And what he did was he literally pirated a lot of her work. She even had an attorney write him a cease and desist letter. He refused to do that. He published a book called Blindsided. What I, as a researcher, was deeply insulted about was that this man was raising an alarm with material he had stolen from others, didn't do a lick of original research on his own. Not one scintilla. Okay? Writes this book, Blindsided. But because he's sourcing it from Nancy Leader, and so many people love Nancy Leader, because to me, Nancy is the Earth Mother of 2012. All right? She does what she does, and she just really could monetize her site numerous ways, make a lot of money off it. She refuses to do it. I mean, she lives a very, very modest, humble life. And she does what she does for love. And I adore her for it. But, and on my show, Cut to the Chase, the reason why she explained 2003 was a non-event was that the Zetas whom she's channeling told her it was just a way to trick George Bush into invading Iraq so we could deplete our military. Which kind of is how it worked out, but that's another story. We were really concerned about it. And Sitchin was deeply concerned about it because Sitchin was getting the same thing we were getting. We were getting letters from people and we could see, some of the letters almost made me cry. They were so heart-wrenching because the people were absolutely terrified by Blindsided, and they didn't know what to do. And they're searching for another voice, and they're asking us what to think, and they're trying to phrase it. They're trying to show deliberate, calm, okay, I'm doing the research and this, that, and the other thing. But the fear was dripping off the emails, just dripping. And we did our best to handle that. Sitchin was having the same problem. And so Sitchin came to us and said, look, we got to do something. We published an exclusive article with Zachariah Sitchin that said 2003 is not going to happen. Mm-hmm. Period. Mm-hmm. And that helped an awful lot of people. It helped an awful lot of people. But then the story gets really interesting for me as a researcher. I'm observing things. I, as a researcher, focus less on granular details. I'm looking more for statistically relevant trends and patterns. I want to see recurring themes. I call them the drum beats. You keep like tom-toms in the distance. You can hear them bump, 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 bump. Well, what we had with 2003 was what I call an organic event. There was no special interest, no governments involved with it. It was this guy, Mark Hazelwood, we used to call him Hazelnut. And he went out and really got everybody totally tweaked about it. And once it turned into a non-event, interest in it just died. I mean, to give you an idea, we had one article we wrote in August of 2003, titled, "Is It Time to Revisit Planet X Nibiru?" In the month of August, aside from ourselves, 4 people read the article.